Hello, everybody. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening to you. Welcome back. We're going to be finishing up letter 8 in the Christ letters, the truth, Jesus Christ. I think I said that out of order, but let's go ahead and get started. No, positive thinking on its own does not work. Neither does the power of your subconscious, since it is only a facet of your entire spiritual/human being. When your emotions are in upheaval, you are being called to examine your entire consciousness, your beliefs, your feelings towards yourself and others, your faith in a spiritual dimension, even the meaning of death and your life afterwards in a higher dimension. This is an extremely painful time in the lives of people. All are subject to this time of upheaval in one form or another. It can be a time of tremendous inner growth and a movement into happiness, or an ongoing time of bitterness and resentment. This is the time to wake up fully and realize that the outcome of the experiences are entirely up to you, not fate or destiny, but you, either working on your own or devotedly and consistently with divine consciousness, arriving eventually at the height of felicity. It is at this time also that a person is challenged to use the mind constructively, reaching for the highest insights and ideals with which to master the emotions. The difference between reactive thought, arising from impulsive ego responses to uncomfortable situations, and creative, intelligent, thoughtful thought will become clear. When this takes place and the insight is put into your daily practice, self-mastery is close at hand. Only the teachers who can lead you through all levels of self-realization, remorse, awakening, changing mental/emotional patterns, moving ever upward into higher spiritual frequencies of vibrations until reaching true God realization, are the teachers of truth, who can truly lead you into the kingdom of heaven. If the first level of development, seeking material satisfactions through positive thinking, were wholly satisfactory to seekers and brought them all they hoped for, the world would, by now, have been converted to the belief in positive thinking. However, this is the starting point of the previously quiescent soul's spiritual journey, and is not to be rejected or criticized. The psyche wakes up to the fact that beyond the earthly dimension, there is some spiritual dimension called God, a person sitting up there, or a universal power which answers prayers. Remember, we are talking about consciousness. The psyche is becoming aware that there is more to life than the daily grind, and wants to experience whatever it is, because deprivation in some area of existence, whether health, financial means, happiness, love, etc., is causing it to seek help. Here we have the same magnetic-emotional bonding at work. I want. However, as the awakening psyche becomes an observer of what is going on in mind and emotions through its filtered contact with life consciousness, it will begin to see some of the magnetic-emotional bonding-rejection activities it is engaging in. Eventually, it will be sufficiently enlightened to turn from the possessive-repulsion feelings and will pray for help to overcome them. It is usually at this time that the right teacher for that soul will come into his life. If the soul has traveled the road of life several times, then it will be some teacher who has evolved sufficiently to lead the seeking soul out of the chains and bondage of the ego drive and forward into light. Remember, in your approach to others, be careful of their egos. It is their sole means of internal survival until they have gained a real and lasting glimpse of divine consciousness, and they also perceive that they have within and transcendent to themselves a source of strength, power, and inspiration. You must also realize that in becoming individualized into bodily form and mental emotional activity, you are subject to the laws of existence. You have been given individuality and identity and infinite potential of achieving Christ consciousness, and there is a price to pay for these. For perhaps many lifetimes, until you are educated into this rare knowledge of self, you will experience the vagaries and multitudinousness complexities of life and relationships. In many lives in the past, you may have done outrageous things considered by others to be sin personified, but these magnetic personality experiences will have contributed to bringing you where you are today in spiritual perception. Therefore, you should be able to accept that there is no sin against a God, and there is no sin against others. The ego can only have total control and do reprehensible things because the soul is still asleep within the heavy cobweb bondage of the magnetic personality. Where this is the case, there is no possibility of persuading such a person he has done wrong against others. There is no interior illumination from light to show him a better way to live. It is entirely blocked by the ego-magnetic consciousness. It capitalized, so divine mother, father consciousness, God, higher power, Allah, however you refer to, it is entirely blocked. However, the pain such a person experiences, since everything he does to others will return with full measure and more, will ultimately make him question existence, and asking questions is the means by which to receive answers from divine life. I began this section by saying that people believe they can be transformed by spirit. Now you understand why I said there is nothing to be transformed. There is nothing real or eternal in the personality. There is a great need to strip it away to reveal the divine within. In Palestine, I called this process a dying to self, which has proved to be a frightening statement. Because of it, many people have been deterred from stepping onto the path leading to the highest spiritual dimensions. And yes, that last step in the stripping process is indeed like a death. A person loses an essential part of his human/earthly self whilst undergoing it. But the relief and the inner peace experienced when the struggle is finally over cannot be described. Joy fills the heart. There is true security, rest, and tranquility in the silence of the mind. At last, the struggle for personal control is over. The person becomes a master. There follows a time of spiritual rest and recuperation. This is later followed by a stepping into a new dimension of being. Nothing in the human scene matters as it did before. People criticize you. Previously, the magnetic personality would have made you feel angry because of your insecurity, your driving need to appear perfect to everyone in order to gain approval. If you do not have approval, the ego argued, how will you survive? What will your life be like? When the voice of the ego has died away, there is no need to seek security, for you are secure. You know that you are sustained, maintained, nourished, protected, healed by divine life consciousness, no matter what others may think of you. Your joy, gladness, happiness, personal fulfillment, and contentment are all inside you. In fact, you no longer need otherness at all. Except you are a part of all otherness. And when the light fills you, you have a driving need to render to others all that divine life consciousness is pouring into you every moment of the day, as you keep in constant touch with this beautiful dimension within you. No longer do you reject the personality of others. Everyone is acceptable to you. Everyone is in need of love. And now you have plenty of that to give. No longer is it a struggle to love unconditionally. It comes spontaneously. Whatever faults you may have left, whatever mistakes you make in your attitudes to others as a result of the remnants of the ego left behind, these are revealed to you, but you do not shy away from self-knowledge, but rather embrace it with love and thanksgiving. You discover that recognition and acceptance of the negative human reactions in yourself is both wholesome and healing. You happily accept and take responsibility for whatever mistakes you make. And then, when you have discerned the loving way, you let it go. You will experience inner peace, knowing that you have learned something else valuable, which will stand you in good stead when next you are challenged by earthly experiences. The time for deep remorse is over, since it has now done its work of releasing you from magnetic emotional responses to life which brought you suffering in the past. You have now entered what I termed the kingdom of heaven when I was on earth. You will find that all of your needs are supplied to you, and you will know that any needs in the future will also be met almost spontaneously. This knowledge keeps you in constant touch with divine life and gives you an immense sense of security. With the peace of mind and tranquility come joy and happiness and a new sense of youthful well-being. Minor or chronic or even terminal ailments will be cleared up, and you will again enter into a new phase of existence. Each time you learn a lesson, you will leave something of the human dimension behind you and move forward into a higher frequency of spiritual consciousness. I am describing for you the rewards which await you when you have struggled and dealt with the magnetic emotional bondage of attraction/bonding - rejection / repulsion. It is these which initially give you individuality, but which become fetters of the soul and from which you must break free in order to get off the treadmill. This treadmill is the span of your present human life, continually turning, continually bearing you into experiences you do not enjoy. When at last you are able to transcend in spirit your magnetic emotional reactions to life, the treadmill will begin to slow down, and then suddenly you will find that you are almost stationary, and you will begin to experience the beautiful quality of life I have described above. Would that I could remove this burden imposed on you by your earthly humanhood. I know your suffering, your times of despair, your grief in the lonely night, your hours of mental and emotional turmoil. As I descend into your consciousness frequencies to transmit my messages and to understand what needs to be said to you, I become aware of your earthly conditions, and these words are my response to your most urgent needs for relief and healing. Do not doubt these words are from me. Take comfort from them and know that as you study these words, they will, in time, bring you deep illumination within your soul, which will bring about the longed-for changes in your life and self. He's going to take us through an exercise on how to meditate, which might seem a bit silly, but there is a specific way when you are meditating on divine life, on Father-Mother consciousness. How to meditate. I'm almost wondering if I should break this up and give it to you last, simply because it's the last several pages of this section, and I think it needs to stand alone. So I am going to come back and read to you the rest of letter 8, and it's just going to be how to meditate. This way, if you want to follow along and practice this yourself, you don't have to look for it or do anything but go to that specific video just for that. So we're going to stop right here. This is going to be a much shorter video, and that's okay. And in the last video for letter 8, I will go over specifically how to meditate with you, and we will wrap it up. So thank you very much for joining me. I love you all very much. Till I see you again, take care of yourself, take care of those around you. Bye-bye until next time.